Hello and welcome to the QA Underground. Today's video will be part of a series of videos that will walk you through, in code, how to create the game Flappy Bird using pygame, as well as teach an AI how to play the game using Init. If you're new to the channel, we create videos on machine learning, game development, and testing related tools weekly, so if that sounds good to you, I invite you to hit the subscribe button below. And with that, let's go over what we will be covering in part 1 of today's video. The first thing we will do will be importing our dependencies. Then we will be setting up a path to our assets folder. After that, we will load the game assets via pointing to an assets folder in the target image. We will then create classes for our bird, pipe, and base. After that, we will create a draw window function, which will draw the game window, and then we will create a main function that will allow us to move and assign our scores. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. We're going to call that file flappy_bird_tutorial.py. Now we're going to import our dependencies. Our dependencies that we will be importing will be pygame, Init. It's important to note that the library for Init that we will be importing is called Init-Python. Then we will import OS and random. The first thing we want to do is set up pygame.font.init. This will allow us to use the font within the pygame library. After that, we will set up our path to our assets folder. To do this, we will do local_directory equals os.path.directory name and then put __file__. After that, we will set up our assets, so we'll equal our local directory and then assign the images, which is our directory name that houses our assets. Next, we will set up our wind width and our wind height. This is basically setting up the width and height of our window for our game. Now we're going to add our images folder, which is our assets folder, to our project. Once that's done, we will simply minimize the project pane. Now we're going to actually point to the assets folder and the target image that we want to use. For our birds, we're going to use bird_images, and then we will use pygame.transform.scale2x, and within that we will pass pygame.image.load. Within the load function, we will then pass os.path.join. And finally, within that, we will pass our assets, variable, and target image. So for the bird, we have 3 images in our images folder, so we're going to actually copy that and do the same thing 3 times, with the target image changing from bird 1 to bird 2 to bird 3. And now we will do the same for the pipe image, the base image, and the background image. Before we get to creating our classes, I want to quickly create a stat underscore font. And basically this is just going to set the font to Comic Sans. So whatever the font, like our score font or our text font within the game, will be this format. And that's simply using pygame.font.sysfont, passing the font and the size that we want. Now we're going to create our bird class. And the main functions that we want to get across here is move, jump, draw, etc. So to start the bird class, we're going to start with images equals bird underscore images, and that's just calling the path that we set up above. Next, we're going to do max underscore rotation equals 25. After that, we're going to do rotation velocity, so ROT underscore VEL equals 20. Then we're going to set our animation underscore time equals 5. After that, we're going to create a function called Init. Here I kind of messed up. We're going to fix this later in the video, but I put Init by accident. We're going to pass self, then we're going to do self.x equals x. I forgot here we need to actually pass x and y into the init function. Next we're going to call self.y equals y. Now we're going to do self.tilt equals 0. Then we're going to do self.tick underscore count equals 0. Then self.velocity, so self.vel equals 0. Then self.height equals self.y. And then self.image underscore count equals 0. And finally, self.image equals self.images, and we'll pass the 0 into the list. So the first function we're going to create for our bird is jump. We're going to pass self to that. Then we will do self.velocity, so VEL equals negative 10.5. Then we're going to do self.tick underscore count equals 0. And then we will do self.height equals self.y. The next function we're going to create for our bird is move. We'll pass self to that. Then we'll do self.tick underscore count plus equals 1. Then we will do d equals self.vel times self.tick underscore count plus 1.5 times self.tick underscore count times 2. Then we're going to do an if statement. So if d is greater than or equal to 16, d will equal 16. Then we'll do if d is less than 0, d minus than or equal to 2. Then self.y equals self.y plus d. After that, we're going to do another if statement. So we're going to do if d is less than 0 or self.y is less than self.height plus 50. And with that, we'll do another if statement. We'll do if self.tilt is less than self.max rotation. Self.tilt equals self.max underscore rotation. Else, if self.tilt is greater than minus 90, we will then do self.tilt is minus or equal to self.rotation from velocity, so ROT underscore VEL. Now we can create our draw function. So we're going to pass self and win for the window, and then we will do self.image underscore count plus then or equal to 1. Now we need to tell it how to draw the animation of the bird, so we're going to do an if statement. So we'll do self.image underscore count is less than self.animation time. Then self.image equals self.images. And then we're going to pass the first image in the list. And then we're going to do a bunch of else if statements, which will increment by 1 until we get to 4. So to do that, we're going to pass in self.image underscore count less than self.animation underscore time times 2. This is the number that we'll be incrementing. Then self.image equals self.images, and then we're going to pass the next image into the list. Once that's done, we're going to do a 3 and a 4, and then we're going to pass in 2 and 1 into the images list. And for this final else if, we're going to actually do it a little bit different. So we're going to do self.image underscore count equals self.animation underscore time times 4 plus 1. Then we're going to self.image equals self.images. I'm going to pass in 0. Then self.image underscore count equals 0. Now we have one more if statement we need to create, so we'll do if self.tilt is less than or equal to minus 80. Then self.image equals self.images, and then we'll pass in 1. Then self.image underscore count equals self.animation time times 2. And finally, we'll wrap up with a couple parameters. So we'll do rotated underscore image equals pygame.transform.rotate, and we're going to pass in self.image and self.tilt. Then we're going to create a parameter called new underscore rect equals rotated underscore image dot get underscore rect, and then we're going to pass in center equals self dot image dot get underscore rect. Then we're going to pass in top left equals self dot x self.y, and then we're going to center that, so dot center. And finally, we're going to draw it to the window, so we're going to do win.blit and pass in rotated underscore image and new rect dot top left. Our final function will be get underscore mask. Basically what this is going to do is allow us to check for collision between the bird and the pipe. So we're going to return pygame.mask.from underscore surface. And then we're simply going to pass in self.image. And that wraps up our bird class. Now we can create our pipe class. We'll start off by creating some variables at the top. Those variables are gap equals 200 and vel equals 5 for velocity. The initial function we'll create is our init. We will pass in self and x. So we'll then do self.x equals x, self.height equals 0, self.top equals 0, self.bottom equals 0, self.pipe underscore top equals pygame.transform.flip, and then we will pass in pipe underscore image, and then false and true. We will then do pipe underscore bottom equals pipe underscore image. Then do self.past equals false and self.set underscore height. We now need to create that function that we just called, so we'll do definition set underscore height. Then we will do self.height equals random.rand range 50 and 450, so we're setting the random height. Then we'll do self.top equals self.height minus self.pipe underscore top dot get underscore height, and then do self.bottom underscore self.height plus self.gap. Next we'll move on to the move function, so we'll do self.x minus equals self.velocity. We'll now do our draw function, so we're going to pass in self and when, and then we're going to draw our window. So we'll do when.blit and pass in self.pipe underscore top, then self.x and self.top. Next we're going to do when.blit and pass in self.pipe underscore bottom, and then again pass in self.x, and this time we'll do self.bottom. The next function will be our collision function, so we'll do collide self and then pass in bird. Then we're going to do bird underscore mask equals bird.getMask, so we can get the mask of the bird. Then we're going to do top underscore mask, then do pygame.mask.fromSurface, and then pass in self.pipe underscore top, and then we're going to do a bottom mask, so we're going to do bottom underscore mask and do pygame.mask from surface and pass in self.pipe underscore bottom. Now we want to do an offset, so we're going to do top underscore offset equals and pass in self.x minus bird.x, then self.top minus round and pass in bird.y. Now we're going to do the bottom offset, so we're going to do bottom underscore offset equals self.x minus bird.x, and then self.bottom minus round, and then again we're going to pass in bird.y. Then we're going to do b underscore point, so we're going to do bird underscore mask dot overlap and pass in bottom underscore mask and bottom underscore offset. And then we're going to do t underscore point equals bird underscore mask dot overlap, and then again pass in top underscore mask and top underscore offset. And finally we're going to wrap up with an if statement, so we're going to do if t underscore point or b underscore point return true, otherwise we'll always return false. Now we'll create our base class, which will allow our ground to move and cycle as we move along. We start this one off with 3 variables at the top. We have our velocity, which will equal 5. We have our width, which will equal base underscore image dot get underscore width. Then we have our image, which equals base underscore image. So again, we start off with our init function. We will pass self and y to it. We then have self.y equals y, followed by self.x1 equals 0, self.x2 equals self.width. We can now create our move function for our base. We will have self.x1 minus equals self.velocity. We will then have self.x2 minus equals self.velocity. Then we'll have an if statement, so we'll have self.x1 plus self.width is less than 0. Then self.x1 equals self.x2 plus self.width. We'll then have another if statement, so if self.x2 plus self.width is less than 0, it'll then be self.x2 equals self.x1 plus self.width. And finally, for our base class, we have our draw function, which we will pass self and when. We'll do when.blit and pass in self.image. And self.x1 and self.y. Following that, we will have when.blit, pass in self.image and self.x2 and self.y. Now we can create our draw window function. We will be passing in our when, bird, pipes, base, and score. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our window, so we're going to do when.blit and pass in bg underscore image and then 0, 0. Then we're going to go through a for loop of our pipes, so we're going to do for pipe in pipes, then pipe.draw when, we're going to create a text variable for our score. So we're going to do text equals stat underscore font dot render. Then we're going to pass in our text score and then our actual score as a string, and then 1, and then we're going to pass in the color of 255, 255, and 255. We'll then draw that to the screen with when.blit, pass in text, and then pass in when underscore width minus 10 minus text.get underscore width and then 10. We then want to draw our base, so we'll do base.draw and pass in the when. And then draw our bird, so we'll do bird.draw and then again pass in our window. And then finally we'll do pygame.display.update. Now we're ready to tie it all together in our main function. So at the top of the main function we have a couple of variables. The first one will be bird equals bird, and then pass in 230 by 350. The second one will be base equals base, and then pass in 730. Then we have pipes, which equals pipe, and then pass in 600. And then we have our window, which will equal pygame.display.set_mode, and then we will pass in our win width and our win height. Then we have our clock, which equals pygame.time.clock. We then have our score variable, which will equal 0, and our run variable, which will equal true. We then go through a while loop on run. So while run, we do clock.tick, and then enter 30. Then we do a for loop on pygame.event.get by doing for event in pygame.event.get. If event.type equals pygame.quit. Run equals false. Now we have add_pipe equals false. Then we're going to create a variable for rem, which will house our pipes that we want to delete by doing rem equals an empty list. Then we loop through our pipes and do for pipe in pipes. If pipe.collide with bird, so we'll pass in bird there. Pass. If pipe.x plus pipe.pipe_top.get with is less than 0, rem.append pipe. So we want to add it to that removable list that we created above. Then if not, pipe passed and pipe.x is less than bird.x, pipe.passed will equal true, and add_pipe equals true. We then move the pipe by pipe.move. Now we have an if statement, so if add_pipe score plus equals 1, so we're going to add a score to it. Then pipes.append will add the pipe with 600. Now we go through a for loop where we'll check R and rem, so we're going to check how many pipes are in there, and then we're going to remove the pipes. So we'll run pipes.remove and then R, and remove any pipes that we find in that list. We'll do our final if loop. We'll do if bird.y plus bird.img.getHeight is greater than or equal to 730. Pass, and then we're going to make sure our ground moves. So we're going to run base.move, and then we're going to draw the window. So we're going to do draw_window and pass in our window, bird, pipes, base, and score. finally we want to quit. We'll do pygame.quit, and then we will quit. And then we'll add our main function. Now, to see if we have coded everything correctly, we will right-click Run. As you can see here, this is where I made the mistake in the beginning. Actually, in the pipe function, I actually mistakenly typed int instead of init. So I just need to update that to init. And it should work. Now, when I go to run this, you'll actually notice that the pygame window appears blank. And that's because I'm running this off of Mac. So to fix that, I actually have to go and change my pygame version to a dev version, as the official version on Mac doesn't work for some reason. It just appears blank. So I will go and update my pygame to the dev version that works. And as of this recording, the version that works is 2.0.0.dev8. So that's what I'm going to install. So with all of our errors fixed and our versions fixed, we can now run the program. And as you can see, the game is working. There currently isn't any collision or anything against the pipes. We're not going to add a move function via the keys because we're going to actually add AI to control it and figure out how to not hit the pipes in the following videos. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. This video ran a little bit longer than I wanted to, so I'm going to split this up into probably 3 videos. The next video is going to be talking about the Neat configuration, which was the algorithm that we're going to use to create the neural network that will teach the birds to fly through the pipes. Let me know what you think of this series in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you on the next one.